Welcome back everyone, this is J7Js bringing you some white mage builds. This first setup I made a while back was liked by a lot of people. It was a white mage melee jump build. Compared to the rest of the other magic users, priests have more PA and speed, making them more ideal characters if you want to fight up close. What we want to do is to use the ability equip polearm from the Dragoon, then equip the strongest spear possible, so Javelin 2 and Gungnir are great choices. Then equip things that will either increase our speed stat or physical attack. In most cases, I prefer stacking speed as we will come down faster from our jumps and you'll be doing excellent damage already. So you can equip a variety of things like Thief's or Acacia Hat for the extra speed, Power Garb or Ninja Gear, and for our accessory, Bracer or Brigand's Glove. With these items on, you'll definitely notice a huge difference in damage and the rate at which you'll be coming down from jump. As a white mage, we may not be hitting as hard when compared to a Dragoon's jump, but because we are faster and can land it more successfully and often, I will argue that white mages are in fact superior jump users. On to our abilities, obviously jump in your secondary slot, although if you're unable to land jumps because enemies might be too fast, then meleeing with your spear can yield some pretty good results too. The best reaction abilities are Shida Hadori or Mana Shield. White mages don't have a lot of HP, so completely nullifying damage might be ideal, especially against stronger enemies. But because you will have high speed, you'll be in the air often, which means you can't be targeted, meaning you are safe, so I found myself rarely getting attacked in most cases. For our support ability in this build, it's equip polearm and equip polearm only, as we won't be able to equip things like spears without it. Then for your movement ability, Mana Font if you're using Mana Shield, if not things like Life Font or Move plus 3. And if you want to truly be God or holy-like, then use Fly, although its cost in War of the Lions is outrageous at 5000 JP, and not really worth it as Teleport can do the same thing, just don't be too gutsy with it. With this build, we will be fast while doing great damage from a distance. We can also throw out and still be a decent support party member with our white magic. Just make sure your faith is high for best results. Even though we are mainly using jump offensively, it's also defensive as we can't be targeted while we are up in the sky. In some situations, jumping can also be a lifesaver. For the PS1 users, if you want to use this build, here is a setup for you. Since there is no Acacia Hat, Tyner Rouge, and Brigand's Glove, use Thief's Hat and Speed Shoes. You won't be hasted, but you'll still be very fast, and it'll be more than enough to land long-range jumps for good damage. Now I realize I didn't make some magic or true white mage builds in the past, so I'll be going over some setups I enjoy using. Just make sure your white mage and party members' faith are high at 70 and above, preferably, and to have good, neutral, or best zodiac compatibility with your other characters for best results. Females are also more ideal as they will have more MA, but if you like the male sprite better, it's still doable. This setup I have is a utility white mage build. Our main goal is to heal our party members and to sometimes use negative status ailments on our enemies with Mystic Arts. You can also deal some good damage with Holy and Invigoration if you want to attack as well. So for our equipment, I recommend a mix of things that will increase our MA and HP, so equip Dream Waker. Then Brass Cornet is ideal for the +3 to our MA and immunity to silence, but if you're annoyed by other negative status ailments, equip Ribbon. For our clothing slot, Rubber Suit is great because it gives so much HP, but Sage's Robe is also another great alternative if you're lacking the MP, and it will also have the damage of all elementals, which is great at reducing incoming enemy magic damage. And lastly, for our accessory, Sepchim for the haste and invisibility at the start of battle, and the +1 to our MA is awesome. For our abilities, Mystic Arts to inflict negative status ailments, then Shida Hadori to protect us from most regular physical attacks. For our support ability, Swiftness to help us cast faster, and lastly a Move Plus ability to make us more mobile. With this build, you can do a variety of things, from healing and reviving allies, to disabling and doing damage to enemies. If you rather not use Mystic Arts as Beowulf is much better, you can always choose to use Time Magic instead, as this is also another great way to help your party with things like haste, and to slowly cripple enemies with things like slow and stop. Another alternative to this build once you're in the late game is to give the white mage samurai skills, as this is better than time magic as you can simultaneously cast regen and haste on all your party members with Masamune. Just make sure you have a lot in your inventory just in case it shatters. Protect and Shell from Kiyomori is also better than casting Wall or casting them individually, so at times, Draw Out can make white magic obsolete. Finally, let's not forget the damage potential from things like Raging Inferno from Chidi Jidaden, which can devastate a large group of enemies while not harming your allies. Additionally, Murasame is also great at healing your party members. However, I mentioned samurai abilities way too much and in nearly all of my build videos, so I'll present to you some other alternatives too. Using other offensive magic like black or summon magic are also great secondary abilities for the white mage. Although its MA won't be as high compared to summoners and wizards, the white mage has superior speed, so he can be faster when it comes to casting, and more importantly, they win in terms of style and looks. And securing a modeling spot in J7J's talent agency is way more important than dealing extra damage. If you decide to use summon, I highly recommend Swiftness, especially with the strong non-elemental summons like Zodiark and Bahamut, as it will take a while to cast. If you're in Chapter 3 or early Chapter 4, using Japa Mala in your accessory slot and using some of the earlier summons like Shiva, Ifrit, and Titan can also put out some great numbers. Another good setup if you're a fan of black magic is to equip Black Robe as an alternative to Japa Mala. Just don't equip both as the damage bonuses will not stack. And for your late game build, I suggest stacking MA instead and go with casting Flare. But for the ultimate damage setup on a white mage is none other than to equip Arithmetics. So with this build, equip Dream Waker, Brass Coronet, Wizards or Chameleon Robe, and either Sepchim, Mage Power Glove, Japa Mala, or Taina Rouge. If you aren't using Chameleon Robe, then Sage's Ring. For the rest of your abilities, Math Skill obviously, then Mana Shield, Arcane Strength, and Mana Font. When it's your turn, use Arithmetics and select Holy. Your enemies will be facing Holy Wrath, and in most cases, you'll be able to one-hit all enemies. Last but not least, for some other oddball and more unique secondaries that can work well on white mages, is to use Arts of War and even Martial Arts. Although not nearly as effective as Jump I feel, the white mage's higher than normal PA for magic users can be slightly more useful with these abilities. I still wouldn't go stacking that much PA though, as staff damage is based on our MA times our weapon power, and even with the endgame staves, you won't be seeing good numbers. Alternatively, you could always put Brawler on a white mage and be similar to that of the white monk from Tactics Advance. Just equip things like Acacia Hat, Lordly Robe, and Genji Glove. Then Martial Arts or Arts of War, Shida Hadori, and most importantly, don't forget Brawler, and then move +3. Just keep your bravery and faith high, and you can have someone that can fight with their fists as well as cast magic. These are some builds I like using with the white mage. Even though their magic won't be as destructive compared to things like black mages and summoners, they can still be pretty competent and at times more deadly due to their higher speed. They also can be proficient melee fighters with equip, polearm, and brawler. Although not as deadly as ninjas and dark knights, don't sleep on these innocent looking acolytes wearing robes, as they can easily turn their back on religion and choose to be violent. That is all I have for this video. I'm glad we got to revisit the Jumping Priest, and I hope you found my other builds for them pretty fun as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time with more FFT videos. Take care.